I own nothing, and I'm happy. I'm happy to own nothing. To live like this makes sense to me. I live a rich, full, creative, free life. I'm surrounded by a group of lovely people. And I'm intimately connected to a piece of land. I have a real sense of place and belonging. I belong here. It gives me so much meaning and purpose. I'm part of something. I live in paradise. Check this out. So why am I telling you this? Why am I speaking up? Well, there's a lot of potential answers to that question, but ultimately it's because this world we're living in, this system, we live in a world where war is part of the operating system. Really? How do we do that? It's not fucking working. A more positive answer would be because this place is amazing and I'm really proud of what my ancestors, my people have created here and how we live and the intention that we have to be living in connection and peace. It's beautiful. It's not part of our culture to wave our own flag and tell you how well we're doing. But fuck it. What we do is significant. It's important. There is a third answer, and that's as things get harder, as resources diminish, as things get degraded, as we weather our own exhaust, literally, that people will turn on each other. It's like there's a hard fork coming up. So you either choose big dogs, guns and barbed wire, or you choose community and connection to be in service. And all the pointers at this stage are swinging towards big dogs, guns and barbed wire, people protecting what they've gleaned from this lolly scramble that we've had for the last 50 years. That scares me. That's not a world I want to live in. I want you to choose community. I want you to choose connection. So this is me speaking up on behalf of connection and community and love. We've been living this way for about 80 years, so we know some stuff, a lot of wisdom. And I want to show you this place, how it works, why it works, and I want you to meet the people. So where to start? I guess we start at the beginning. This building behind me was a Methodist church, but that's not the beginning either. Down here, I was at a homestead, and this was all orchard. This is where the community started. Oh yeah. Kia ora, hi, I'm Che. I'm a member of Riverside Community. This community actually started from a Methodist Bible study group that met hereabouts. I guess they were studying the Word of Christ to see how they might be more Christ-like. At the outbreak of World War II, members of the group declared themselves to be conscientious objectors. Thou shalt not kill actually meant something. And if they didn't go and fight, there wouldn't be a war. Which is pretty cool. It's pretty fucking radical. And remember, this is the outbreak of war. This is when nationalism is raging for queen and country and all that stuff. My grandfather, who lived up the valley in Pokororo, he was literally run out of the valley by the locals with pitchforks. I mean, it was that sort of scene. As conscription started, the men were all locked up in the prison camps for the duration of the war. They were staunch, they were radical. These guys were idealistic and passionate and young. They were like in their 20s. At the end of the war in 1945, the men were released from prison camps and made their way back down here to the Motiri. The women from that Bible study group had actually come together on this piece of land down here where they had been working the orchard. The orchard belonged to one of the members of this group. So they got together and they had a meeting, and one of the women spoke up and said, if we believe in this, why don't we do it? And out of that impetus, a community was born. So they set about designing a society that they would like to live in, an anti-competitive society, a society based on cooperation and peace and living within limits, living simply. What they came up with was actually remarkably elegant in its simplicity. There's three key pieces: consensus decision-making, ownership, or lack of, and a common purse. So for us, common ownership means that the Riverside Community Trust Board owns all the houses and the land and the business plant. There's no private ownership. There's no accumulation. There's no speculation. There's no motive to be extractive. There's not even any inheritance. It's common ownership. If you look at the village and the setup, it's apparent. There's no defined boundaries between the buildings. There's no fences. There's privacy screens and plantings and that sort of thing. It's actually quite different physically. The second part, the second pillar, if you like, is consensus decision making, which means everybody has to agree before a decision will go through. It means everybody has to have buy-in. There's no win-lose solutions. It has to be a win-win solution. This can be slow, but I think that's what the world needs. We need to slow down. We need to consider what we're doing. The third part, which is considered to be the most radical by most people, is that we work with a common purse, which means any money made by the membership, whether they are working outside the community or inside the community, goes into a common bank account, which we then receive an allowance from. The common purse also covers our housing and medical, dental, that sort of thing. This means that I can't flourish at the expense of somebody else in my community. In fact, my flourishing is really dependent on their flourishing as well. So it kind of knits the community together as a unit. It's quite powerful. It's probably is the key piece of what makes this community what it is, and what's held it together in such stability for 80 years now. My intention is to make a series of videos just documenting what it is to live here and how we do what we do. What I want to look at is the outcomes of this social experiment. I want to understand how myself as a product of this place differs from somebody who's been brought up in a competitive environment. I find that really fascinating. I've realised that being brought up here in this culture, which as I'm getting older I'm realising is quite different in its outcomes and the people that it creates, and their worldview and their way of being in the world. I find that fascinating and quite inspiring. It speaks to the ability of humans to adapt to different conditioning, I guess. Yeah, it gives me a bit of hope. I want to showcase this place in some ways, but I don't want to just show you the good bits. I want to show you, well, it's all good bits really. So I want to bring you along on a journey of trying to manifest sustainability and continuity within a human culture. I'm so insanely lucky, so blessed to call this place home. This stunningly beautiful, rugged and yet mild place, this fertile paradise of milk and honey. A land of volcanoes and trees, of stunning coastlines and great mountain ranges. Te Waiponamu, the South Island of Aotearoa, New Zealand. Nested into the arms of the dividing mountain range at the northern tip of the South Island is the Motueka region. This is us, a few k's out of Motueka in the Motiri, where we have been creating a life of peace and cooperation for 80 years. This central space, this amphitheatre, is what we call the Oval. It's our central playground where you might find someone sitting in the sun reading a book, or a game of cricket, or a music festival. Even a wedding can happen here. We live in fairly typical family units. We're not a commune. In fact, people here bristle at that idea and what it implies. We're very much a community. We're actually, I guess, quite conservative in that respect. This is our visitors' hostel. You can stay in tents if you like, or bring your van. This building is our cultural centre. This is the building that used to be a church. Beautiful courtyard for sitting in, nice shady spaces. This is the foyer. Beautifully quiet meeting room. Dog, come on, you lie out in here. This is Obi, he's a bit of a muppet. Come on. That room's often used for yoga, things that require a bit of silence. This is the main room, the main hall. Used to be a church. Now it's a circus school, choir hall, yoga studio, weddings, funerals, bands, performances. Yeah, you name it. You can do it in here. Oi! The building also has its own commercial kitchen. You can easily feed a few hundred people out of here. I'll show you our house. I have to drop off the dog anyway. He's not very good around traffic. He's still quite young. I live here with my wife Tamara and daughter Kiwa. This house was built in the 1950s out of old man pine that was growing on the land here. A few of the other houses are made out of rammed earth. There's a food club here, run by this fine man Basil. So this is the yard, main reception, office, tractors, lots of gear, actual workshop with ramps and a whole bunch of gear for working on vehicles. This is my gallery, which is currently mothballed. This is our joinery. There's some nice kit in here. Thicknesser, planer, nice table saw, actually even a spindle moulder over there. We have a building team who kind of bases out of here. Down on our road frontage we have a raw milk vending machine. Put your money in, press the button, out comes the milk. Not a cow in sight. Also on our road frontage is the Riverside Cafe. It's been operating for 23 years. It's looking a little bit overgrown right now. We're just reinventing it as a community cafe, so like a curated platform for the development of new culture. These gardens I developed about 20 years ago. I used to house my bonsai down here as well, but they started to get stolen, so I moved them out. But these beasties here date back to the late 1950s. They are big. Listen to this. Some real pretty stuff in here. So we're in the process of reinventing this space. This was the Riverside Cafe. It's been running for about 23 years. We've renamed it, called Miti Miti, which means to mingle. And the idea is to create a community hub, a community cafe where people can come and meet and talk and create together. We're imagining all sorts of groups meeting here and cross-fertilising. We're imagining a stage that sits over here and plays through the cafe and also plays into our larger sort of cafe green space, so we could have maybe 300 people here at a party or at a concert. This is very much an adventure into the unknown. This is an attempt to try something different, something that's outside of the game. I see it really as a work of art. There will be food available here. The idea is to keep it cheap and accessible to everybody. We don't want people turning up here and not being able to eat because they can't afford it. We've had this place operating for a couple of months already, and it's been really fascinating and interesting to see all the different people showing up to share their gifts. We've had music and workshops, we've had food making and gardening, we've had creative mending, that was pretty cool. This project, Miti Miti, is not a Riverside Community project. This project is a wider community project. It's been held by people from all around the district. So if you'd like to get involved on any level, please bring yourself, bring your gifts, and share with the world. Love to see you here. There's our little sheep flock, mostly just for eating. This area is what we call the Seacoast block. It used to be our orchard. Now it's all hay paddocks. Well, it's baleage actually. All these green things are about a ton of baleage each. Cut up grass, cut green, packaged up ferments in the bale. So all this land you can see it's just been cuts, all ours, that's all our hay paddocks. Then I'll hop more down over the hill here and then down through here. This is some new plantings through here, ponds and plantings. This is Tasman Bay. Nelson's over here. Right, it's 2 o'clock. I have to go and get some calves across the river. It's quite cool. My brother Tristan runs the farm. He just puts out the word, right, we're bringing a new bunch of calves across. So they're born over the river and they're raised down there. And then they're brought up here to be fattened up or to eventually be dairy cows. I'm driving from the high point of the farm, what we would refer to as out the back, the seacoast blocks. I'll be driving down through the village and across the road to the river that bisects the land. The village, our housing area, is a beautiful green treed space tucked into the side of the Moutere Hills, looking out onto the valley and onto Mount Arthur, Whoripapa, our local mountain. It's a decent chunk of land, it's about 200 hectares. A straight line from one end of the farm to the other is about 2 kilometres. There'll be a handful of people turning up about now to help direct traffic, well, stop traffic actually, as we get the calves across. Just to add to the confusion, they're resealing the road down there as well. Right, let's get down in the river before they wander off down there. Trying to be a bird. They go. This is their first trip up the hill, so they don't know where they're going. As they get older, they get the idea and they pretty much know where to go. It's quite amazing. Oh no! Whoops, a couple fell through the fence. No, we don't. That's the gate. That one's stuck. He's probably got a leg through the fence. Yeah.
Tangled in there. Are there any? You've got tools on your truck, eh? Do you know if there's any ratchets here?
We can.
Take it down?
There's possibly some here, but we can always just cut the fence. I mean, it's got a.
Right.
Probably the safest.
Yeah.
Fastest way to
Come on.
Don't.
Want to cut it?
Yeah. All of it?
Yeah. Okay. Always some fun little challenge on the farm. That was nice and easy.
There's a big hole in there now, though.
There's a new job to do. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this brief introduction to Riverside Community. There's a lot going on here. There's some really passionate people. There's some really cool projects. We didn't even look at the gardens or the farm or the wildlife or the land itself. We've barely touched the surface, but I could just carry on forever, so I just need to publish this now. There's so much to see, so much to say, so many people to meet. This place has a lot going on. If there are things that you'd particularly like me to explore or questions that you'd like answered, please write them in the comments and I'll incorporate them in future shows. Thanks, it's been fun.